Now, ahead of Game Week 24, I've asked my FPL experts for their top transfer recommendations, and in today's video, we're going to go through their picks. Now, before we dive into today's video, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we are trying to hit 12,500 subscribers by the end of the season, and it is only possible with your guys' amazing support. Let's start off then with, of course, the big area that a lot of my FPL experts are going to be focusing on this week. It is going to be the double game week, so of course, we are going to be discussing Liverpool and Everton. Now, there's a lot more Liverpool players that were recommended over the Everton players, so of course, we have put a table together here discussing all of the ones that were suggested by my FPL experts. So let's start off first with our defender picks. Now, personally for me, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is the best one you're going to get out of the bunch. If you can find a way to get this guy into your side, he's going to be the one that is going to deliver very, very big. Also, the predicted points for this game week as well, and for the next three, he is the highest out of all the Liverpool players. Was very, very unfortunate not to come away with a mega haul in game week 23 against Ipswich. Hit the bar, very close to a clean sheet as well, Liverpool, unless it was, down to that sloppy corner ball that was conceded right at the end. But for me, he offers the biggest value from this side as well. Not only is he playing for one of the best defences in the league for XG conceded, the projected numbers are looking pretty decent as well. Just for game week 24, of course, the weeks following that as well, still pretty decent in terms of their clean sheet percentages as well. He also poses that attacking threat with 0.39 expected goal involvement per 90. Like I said, I prefer him over all of the other Liverpool players, not even just the defenders. That's how good I think Trent is, and I do feel he's one of those players that could go absolutely big across this double game week. Sticking with the defence then, of course, Virgil van Dijk and Konate were two other names. I probably prefer Konate. I don't think there's too much to split between Virgil van Dijk and Konate for me. I feel like, as you can see there, the expected points, there's not too much in terms of discrepancy. The expected goal involvement actually a little bit higher for Konate as well. But I think, for me personally, I probably would just lean more towards Konate. He's going to be one of those players that's a little bit easier to get out of the side. Van Dijk doesn't really pose anything, and I've said this for a few weeks now, I don't think he poses any sort of attacking threat, and not really going to be justifying his price point. I would try and find that 0.9 million to, of course, go and get Trent Alexander-Arnold into the team for me. I think it's going to be so much better for you and your side in terms of points, and as well, Trent's probably a little bit easier to shift out when you do want him, because of course you could just downgrade him to any defender you wanted because you've already got that budget kind of locked in within the back line. Let's move on then to the midfielders and the forwards that were recommended. Diaz, probably not going to be one for me. I know a few people are obviously looking at him as a potential Anthony Gordon replacement, with, of course, Newcastle's fixtures getting a little bit more tough. But I think in that striker role, he doesn't do enough. His expected goal involvement since dropping to the forward position has fallen off a cliff. And I think the predicted points are also showing that one as well. I think he probably has the biggest chance of being rotated as well between Diaz, Gakpo as well, because he is playing that number 9 role. All it takes is probably Darwin to do well in maybe one of the cup games, or of course the Champions League game on Wednesday, and he could be very, very easily starting one of the double game week fixtures. So I actually think Diaz is a little bit of a risk and probably not a player I would be going for. Cody Gakpo, on the other hand, is having a fantastic season back on that left-hand side. Of course, we saw him under the Euro, and then obviously under Ruud van Nistelrooy at PSV in that role, and he was excelling. Again, he's now back in that role under Slot, and again is starting to deliver. Of course, everybody would have saw the points that he got against Ipswich. Probably a little bit fluky, the way that one ball just fell to him, the other missed somebody's head, and the ball fortunately fell to Salah. But sometimes you have to take the rub of the green. He is second for projected points as well, and feels like a really, really easy replacement. Of course, maybe if you've got Chris Wood, not too much of a stretch up to him, or of course maybe if you've still got somebody like a Nicholas Jackson kicking about your side as well. The final one that was spoken about a little bit in the Discord was, of course, Dominic Szoboszlai. I actually think he had a really, really impressive game against Ipswich, and I was actually surprised to see his underlying numbers from this season. The goal involvement's decent. The expected goal involvement per 90 as well is really, really good. Now, the Fantasy Football Hub model doesn't favour him too much. However, the pockets of space he was finding against Ipswich were very interesting from that eye test perspective for me personally. So could be a decent one. However, I probably would maybe only be looking at him if I couldn't get to any of the other Liverpool assets. But for me personally, it is going to be Trent and Gakpo that are going to be leading the way. Konate is a decent, probably third option. After that, maybe I think the assistant managership might be a better use of that third Liverpool spot. Let's move on to the Everton double game week players. Of course, only 2 were mentioned here, and Dye got a few shouts, but I thought, we'd just stick with the back line because I feel that's where a lot more people are going to be realistically looking in terms of Pickford and Mykolenko. Of course, the beauty of potentially going and picking Jordan Pickford up is that he might not blank in game week 29, so if you are potentially thinking about not playing your free hit in that game week, he could be a really, really good player to go and have. Of course, the double game week. Everton's underlying data as well defensively is pretty decent across the board. Already, they've got a pretty decent fixture against Leicester. Top that with a double game week. I think Pickford might not be a bad shout. He could pick up a few saves. Probably would prefer him over Mykolenko as well. But I've had Mykolenko for various parts this season, and he's been a player that has been very, very solid, very, very consistent, and when you do need him, he can be relied on at 4.4. And if obviously you've got, just some other players that can rotate around him, again, I don't mind either of these picks, and if you were to pick them up, I don't hate it. Genuinely don't hate it for the next few game weeks. Like I said, Everton pretty good defensively. Definitely could be, ones to look at for this double game week. You could see them getting a clean sheet against Leicester, making that game, obviously, the final derby at Goodison as well. They can make that place a little bit of a fortress under Moyes as well. We potentially could have a little bit of a shock on the cards, of course, since Moyes has returned as well. The football has been getting a little bit better, but defensive performances as well have still been very, very solid. So Pickford and Mykolenko for me feel like decent shouts, so I'm going to go with what the FPL experts are looking at there. Let's move on then. Let's take a look at the Bournemouth players. Of course, we're going to talk about Kluivert and Otara from Bournemouth. Obviously, Kluivert again, another player that was mentioned, but these two were discussed a little bit more. I feel like the ideal hop-on point, of course, is going to be game week 25. I know a lot of people within the FPL community on Twitter as well are looking at both of these players, and for very, very good reasons. Both of these pose excellent, cheap value midfielders that are going to enable you to build an even better side, especially if maybe you're thinking about downgrading somebody like a Gordon to an Otara, or of course to a Kluivert as well. They could open the door up for a Trent Alexander-Arnold this week, so they could be perfect enablers. I do slightly prefer Kluivert just for the penalty appeal. I do feel that is justified in his 0.7 million price tag. However, Dango also has his advantages. He's an out of position player playing up front for a very attacking side. As you can see as well, his data over the past few weeks has been pretty decent, to be honest, so you're not going to be kicking that out of bed. The fixtures that they've got coming up as well, playing some of the worst sides in the league for XG conceded. Obviously, Bournemouth have on this really long and impressive run as well, where they've been putting in high quality performances every single week. Like I said, I do feel like a lot of people are going to be investing in Bournemouth players over the next few weeks, so definitely worth keeping your eye on the market. Like I said, if you are, of course, maybe struggling to find the money for Gakpo or a Trent, either of these guys for me feel like absolutely fantastic enablers. But like I said, probably would lean more towards Kluivert just for that penalty appeal. We know how imperative that can be in terms of the game. And sometimes those little split decisions that just go your way, yeah, they just work sometimes with penalty takers. Look at Brian and Mbeumo this weekend. A perfect example of that one. Like I said, though, the ideal hop-on point for me probably would be game week 25 with Southampton. However, if this does enable you to get a Trent, get a Gakpo, get any sort of double game week player, then I'm all for you bringing in either of these players. So again, FPL experts nailing it on the head this week. Let's move on then to our final 2 players of the game week. It is going to be 2 lads that I love. Genuinely, got a lot of time, got a lot of respect for these 2. It is going to be Johan Visser and Brian and Mbeumo. Both of these guys, legends this season. Genuine legends. Obviously, Brentford about to go on this absolutely stellar run over the next few weeks as well. With even the fixtures there, playing some of the worst sides at the moment for XG conceded. Tottenham, abysmal. I think they've not won in 10 now. I think only Southampton are doing worse over this 10-game period in terms of XG created, XG conceded, big chances. I think it's like shots in the box. It was a ridiculous tweet I saw. Tottenham are woeful at the moment. This could be the final game. Brentford as well at home are great. One of the best sides in Europe for goals. One of the best sides in Europe for XG at home as well. And look at the numbers that both of these players are putting up. Shots, plenty of them. Plenty of them coming in the box as well. Really, really good, chances created, key passes, XG, everything you could want from FPL assets. Both of these guys have got. They play for the best attacking team in the league, and they've got 3 fixtures coming up playing some of the worst sides in the league. All of this, to me, just seems like a recipe for success. I don't think there is a better budget forward out there than Johan Visser for me. Bryan Mbeumo, with the penalties, with him being a consistent, solid 90-minute man, what's not to love? Obviously, I know a lot more people have Bryan Mbeumo already. I think he's around 30% owned. It would not surprise me if he pops in a really, really good performance against Tottenham, that a lot of people, of course, start to move back to him and we start to see his ownership creep probably to, I would say, maybe 38, 40%. He'd probably get to where Chris Wood is right now in terms of the game, in terms of his ownership. So it feels like one of those players that could be one of the ones that absolutely decimates your rank over the next few weeks. Of course, Newcastle fixtures are tailing away, so I think he would be the ideal replacement for me. The other option, Johan Visser. I know a lot of people are looking to get rid of Chris Wood. I'm personally in that bracket. The next 5 fixtures for Nottingham Forest coming up aren't great from an attacking perspective. If we look at the projected goals numbers from 11FI as well, they're also pretty terrible over the next few weeks. So again, Johan Visser, those numbers, the fixtures they've got coming up, like I said, my FPL experts have absolutely smashed it out of the park this week, and these two right at the end for me, killers. Genuinely, really, really good players. Would highly recommend both of these guys for your side. Let me know what you think of my FPL experts picks. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in the comment section and we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in double game week 24. Bish bash bosh.